and around Kansas, we have some fun guest hosts for you today. Brothers Nathan and Brenden came from Wichita to participate in the Harvest on the Plains event at Fort Wallace. Then Kirk Shapland, aka Buffalo Bill Cody, talks about those important Scouts of the Plains. On the Front Porch, our guest is Jay Bohnenblust. Ron Wilson has a great poem, and we end with a look at the territorial elections of Kansas with our friend Michelle Martin.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Good morning. Welcome to Around Kansas, and I have a new co-host this morning. So, Nathan, welcome. It's nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
So, why don't you tell them your name and where you're from?
I'm Nathan and I'm from Wichita, Kansas.
And what's your last name, Nathan?
Groniger.
How do you spell that?
Groniger.
Wow, that's good. I couldn't spell that. There's no way. If I'd been a kid with a name like Groniger, I'd have had to quit school, I guess. So you've been here at Fort Wallace. We're at the Fort Wallace Museum, and you've been here for our expo all about hunting buffalo and harvesting the plains. So did you enjoy it?
Yep.
So what was the best part?
Mainly just buffalo.
Just buffalo, just everything about buffalo. So what are you studying in school?
Math.
Math? Oh my goodness, I'm terrible at math. So you're good at math? You like it? So what are you going to do when you grow up? What are you planning to be?
A baseball player.
A baseball player. They need to know math. That's really good. In fact, a lot of people learn math by studying baseball statistics. That's really great. Now what about your brother Brenden? What's he planning to do?
Be a history teacher.
See, I can understand that. I can relate to being a history teacher. They don't have to count. They don't need to know math. And when you go back to school and tell your math teacher that, they are not going to agree with me. So just be ready. Be ready for that. So do you play baseball?
No.
Not yet? How come?
Because I have heart surgery.
Ah, so when you get over that a little more, you're going to play baseball?
Mm-hmm.
Super. So do you watch baseball?
Yeah.
You go to the games?
I've only been to one.
So who's your favorite major league team?
Angels.
The Angels. How come?
Mike Trout.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. What about the Royals? Are you familiar with them? You ever heard of the Royals?
Yeah.
So who's your favorite player there? Do you have one?
Whit Merrifield.
Ah, see, I knew you knew who they were. So have you been to a Royals game, or what kind of game did you go to?
I went to a Royals game.
And who were they playing?
Twins.
The Twins? I can tell you who won that one. Who won?
The Twins.
The Twins! That was a fluke, wasn't it? That hardly ever happens. So it's great to have you here. So do you want to give a shout out to anybody while you're on television?
No.
No? What about your brother?
Okay, my brother.
Okay. And what's his name?
Brendan.
Okay. What about your mom?
Judy.
Judy. Okay. And who else? Any of your friends at school?
My dad.
Your dad? That's nice. What's his name?
Jeff.
Jeff. So hey, Jeff. Hey, Judy. Hey, Brenden. And so anybody at school? Nobody? What about your teacher?
Miss Weller.
Miss Weller? All right. So hey, Miss Weller. Hey from around Kansas and Nathan. So when we get up from here, you're going to go out and see some more buffalo hunters and stuff. Did you learn something about the buffalo you didn't know before?
I didn't really understand it.
You didn't understand it? So do they need to explain it again? Okay, you go back out. When you go back out, you tell them that Deb said to explain it better this time. Okay? or I'll have to come out there after. All right? Okay. I'm glad you came and joined us today. Are you going to come back sometime? You want to do another TV show sometime?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the way it is with all the men in my life. I'm just not sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Shake hands. We will see you later. Thank you so much. Stay with us. We got a great show.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to western Kansas.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
Welcome back to Around Kansas.
And as you can see, Nathan abandoned me, so I got the next brother. So Brenden is with me. And Brenden, you won't abandon me, will you?
No.
Thank you
not this
very
time.
much. So he's been going around the encampment that we have too, and you're the one that really loves history
Yes,
and the
I
one
do.
that really wanted to come. So why do you love history?
I think it's just, I don't know, I have such a calling to learn about history. Just
Calling. You steal my heart. Good job. All right, so one of the things that, of course, is a big part of the buffalo hunting are the scouts. So have you been impressed with the
I
scouts you've met
have,
here?
indeed.
What about Buffalo Bill? Have you met him
Oh,
yet?
yes, I did. I got my picture taken with him.
You got your picture
Yep.
made with Buffalo Bill? Did he charge you?
No, he's just like, yeah, just come over here.
He was
Yeah.
feeling pretty generous then, wasn't he?
Yep.
Well, I would like for you then to introduce Buffalo Bill Cody.
Okay. So, joining me now is Buffalo Bill.
So I guess since Buffalo Bill was coming, Nathan decided to come back. He was probably more interesting than just I am. And since we had Buffalo Bill, Brenden didn't want to leave, so here we all are, one big happy family. So welcoming Kirk Shapland portraying Buffalo Bill Cody. Welcome,
Thank you.
Kirk.
Thank you.
Good to have you. I've wanted to get Kirk on camera here for a long, long time. So everybody that knows me knows how much I love Bill Cody. So why did you love Bill Cody? What first attracted you to Bill Cody?
Well, in the beginning, when I began reenacting out at historic Fort Hays, I was interested in portraying a scout. And once I started to research that, I found two of the most interesting scouts had been at Fort Hays, and one of which was Wild Bill Hickok, and the other was Bill Cody. And among the two, Cody was more of a buffalo hunter. And that really appealed to me. I really didn't understand what I was getting into when I decided
None of us
to
do.
do that impression.
I know. Now we got the scouts, we got the flies coming in. So flies and scouts go together, don't they? Buffalo hunting was a nasty business.
Oh yeah,
A really nasty
definitely,
business.
definitely.
So why did these guys, what was the motivation for hunting buffalo?
It's all about the money, all about the greenbacks.
And it,
There was a recession back east.
Mhm.
It was hard to make money. You're coming off the end of the Civil War. You come out west, and especially men following Cody with the hide hunters. You know, it became there was a market that was opened up, and you could make money with a rifle and a knife.
Cody is so fascinating to me, and this is one of the things that I tell students, especially when they come through, when we talk about the Scouts, because we talk about hunting and we talk about all these other things, but their language and communication skills. So talk about that, because Cody could talk to any tribe on the plains. Is that right?
Well, there was a common sign language that was used on the plains, and they used among themselves before the whites came around anyway, and so Cody was fluent in that and could also speak Sioux, if you know, and could communicate with the Indians.
I think we're just about out of time, but we're going to have you back at some point. And any parting words about Bill Cody?
Well, we'll just say he's the embodiment of manifest destiny.
Perfect, because he sure was. He sure was. We'll be right back. Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to Western Kansas.
This segment brought to you by Bob Schwartz Financial. Values, commitment, transparency.
I'm Dwayne Thames, and my guest today is Jay Bohnenblust from Clay Center, Kansas, a 32-year career in education. Jay finished up college at Kansas State University with the Ag Ed degree, and you didn't travel terribly far from home, I understand.
No, I had the opportunity. In fact, there were a couple job openings close to Manhattan, which was going to be important to us because my fiance at the time was a speech and language pathology major and was going to have to spend the 5th year there to finish up a degree. So I guess the goal there was to stay somewhere close to Manhattan so she could finish that up. Maury Catlin gave me a call one day and he said, hey, I'm ready to maybe move on over to the bank. If you're interested, here's the contact. And so I gave him a shout and got my information turned in and had the opportunity to come up and interview for the Clay Center job.
And as they say, 32 years later...
32 years in one location, close to home for me, and it was no regrets.
It's pretty amazing. There just aren't many school teachers in particular, particularly ag teachers, but pick a profession today. There are very few people that start and finish in one particular position.
We've always had a great opportunity here, a great community with great kids, and the school system was always real strong and real supportive of our ag program, and so it was real easy for me to stay. I'm not going to say that I wasn't given opportunities outside of teaching along the way, but I always kind of liked working with kids and being involved in agriculture without being in production agriculture until I finally kind of wore out. It was a great experience for me.
So you saw a few changes over time, things that happened during your tenure?
Well, I think, of course, when I first started, we didn't have very many females in our program, And one of the things that I did initially was initiate a horticulture program. And, right now, at the end of my tenure, and I think even going forward, there are about a 50% or maybe better female population within the program. And also, we went through things like the name change, the National Organization Future Farmers of America to the National FFA organization. And that was kind of a hard one for me, but yet, there was enough basis, I guess, to promote the change, to represent the entire population of students in ag education at the time. And, they don't want to leave anybody out, I guess, was the feeling at the national level. That was always something hard for me going forward was, well, what does FFA stand for? Well, it still stands for Future Farmers of America, but our official title is the National FFA organization.
I was in the realms of that at that time, and I was against the name change just from the standpoint of worried about losing identity, because it is a rich history that program has had throughout time, and some great national leaders, political leaders and others that came through that program.
Yeah, I think that everything evolves. The creed has changed 2 times during my tenure, and they're always just, coming up with new ways, new programs. It seemed like when I was teaching, they would always add something new, but never take anything off the bottom end. And
right.
So to an extent, we're getting a little bit overwhelmed out there in the classroom to participate in everything that they generated. But, a lot of that's tied to sponsor buy-in. And we're fortunate with the FFA that there are a lot of people out there that appreciate what the FFA does for young people, and they're willing to invest. And, when you have investors and you provide, products and,
right.
Then get those products out to the classroom for us as the classroom teachers to utilize. And so I saw a lot of that during my tenure as well. A new marketing plan in CDE, all different kinds of ag sales, all kinds of new things coming down the pike. And it was a great experience.
That's Jay Bohnenblust from Clay Center, Kansas, joining us on the program.
I'm Bob Swartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Swartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Swartz Financial values commitment and transparency.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
If you talk to old-time ranchers in the Flint Hills, as I enjoy doing, you'll hear a saying that speaks to me about the conservation of the Flint Hills. And it supports my view that the best way to conserve and preserve the tallgrass prairie is to keep it in the hands of private ranchers and their families. This poem is called Kansas Flint Hills. In the eastern part of Kansas, a traveler will find a type of ecosystem of a very special kind. It's called the Flint Hills, where you've seen the tallgrass grow over endless hills and draws where the creeks and rivers flow. Here ranchers have a saying based on a long-term view: if you take care of the grass, it will take care of you. That means caring for the grassland and managing it best to preserve it for the future in the rancher's long-term quest. It means managing it wisely with controlled, prescribed burns and avoiding overstocking to move the herd by turns. Grazing keeps the ecosystem in balance, as research findings show, just as bison grazed these grasslands those centuries ago. Years ago, some said the government should save the tallgrass prairie as a park or Buffalo Commons with the cost that would carry. But rather than a park run by the government, the best course is private ownership and long-term management. The best way to preserve these beautiful prairie lands is to keep ranch families on them as they stay in private hands. It's a wonderful lifestyle, though it won't make you wealthy, but the ranchers have incentive to keep the grasslands healthy. Because the ranchers live by these words, which I sure believe are true: if you take care of the grass, it will take care of you. Happy trails.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, and we're glad to answer and work with you.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Folks, did you know there's an election coming up this year? Really? Who knew? Michelle's going to talk about some historic elections in Kansas. And since this is Michelle, I thought we should bling it up a little bit. My ever-increasing effort to keep up with Michelle. Good morning. How are you doing this morning, Michelle?
Good morning, Deb. When Kansas was a territory, election season meant one thing: voting, sometimes early and often. Today, let's look at the controversial nature of territorial elections. With the passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854, the fate of the new territory would be settled at the ballot box. Voters, property-owning and tax-paying men, would decide if Kansas entered the Union as a free or slave state. As settlers streamed into the territory, the battle lines were drawn almost immediately. When men made their way to the ballot box, anything could and did happen. In March 1855, voters in Fort Scott found their 253 registered voters greatly augmented. One observer noted that most of the ballots cast in the county came from covered wagons camped on the Marmonton bottoms for one day. Only men just swarmed over from Missouri. Some Missourians staked flags to trees and claimed to be homesteaders. Others lined up and voted only to return to cast another ballot after changing their clothes, shaving facial hair, and altering their appearance. At election's end, nearly 700 men cast votes in favor of pro-slavery candidates and laws. Elections for the territorial constitutions were fraught with fraud and deception as well. In Lecompton, bogus ballots were stuffed in a candle box. At polling locations across the territory, intimidation ruled the day. Free state leaders like Charles Robinson wrote to supporters in the East for assistance. In a letter to Eli Thayer, Robinson wrote, "Another election in Kansas Territory has passed, and like the first, was controlled entirely by Missourians." Of the Missourians, Robinson observed, encampments were formed in the vicinity of the polls, varying in size according to the number of voters required in the several districts to secure their end. At Lawrence, about 1,000 Missourians took possession of the polls and threatened to hang one of the judges who was formerly from Missouri but anti-slavery. Robinson asked Thayer to aid the cause of voting. Cannot your secret society send us 200 of Sharp's rifles as a loan till this question is settled? Also, a couple of field pieces. If they will, I think they will be well used and preserved. By 1857, Kansans were called upon to protect voting precincts. The Kansas Volunteers for the Protection of the Ballot Box were mustered into service across the territory to ensure that voting fraud, intimidation, and voting early and often came to an end. In 1859, after struggle, voting irregularities, and bloodshed, territorial voters approved the Wyandotte Constitution that outlawed slavery and ushered Kansas closer to admission to the Union. I hope you enjoyed our look at territorial elections in Kansas, and that you'll join me next time for another historical adventure somewhere around Kansas.
I want to thank each and every one of my colorful guests for joining us this morning. It's been a great time. I know you've enjoyed it at home, and
we'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm, so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer and work with you.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agamandkansas.com.